Thanksgiving table.
I don't want to spend my life looking over my shoulder. We need to stop him.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror film Thanksgiving. The film is directed by Eli Roth, who co-wrote the film as well, and it stars Patrick Dempsey, Ty Olsson, Gina Gershon, we have Karen Cleach, Nell Valak, Rick Hoffman, and Jalen Thomas Brooks. Now, the film follows a town in Massachusetts, the birthplace of Thanksgiving. And we see on the night of Thanksgiving that the owner of the local shopping mall puts on a huge Black Friday sale that ends in tragedy. The crowd gets all worked up and people essentially die. The film jumps forward 12 months. And there is now a masked killer out there dressing up like a pilgrim from Thanksgiving and taking his vengeance out on those he deemed at fault excuse me, for the deaths a year previously. It's up to everybody involved to try and stay alive and figure out who the killer is before they are next to be served up for the Thanksgiving dinner. Right, what are my thoughts on Thanksgiving? Well, you may or you may not know that this is actually based on the fake trailer or the mock trailer from Grindhouse way back in 2007. And it was shown, there was a series of trailers, and it was shown in between Planet Terror and Death Proof, Thanksgiving. And as with many of the trailers that we're seeing there, a lot of them have been turned into movies since, and this is the latest one, I suppose. It might even be the last one. And this has been, I suppose, fairly highly anticipated by a lot of people. A lot of people really kind of revere Eli Roth as like this great horror director and this kind of stuff. While I'm not necessarily in this camp, I'm not what I would describe as a big fan of Eli Roth's work. I find it a bit too gratuitous for me, a little bit too brutal, hostile and things like that. It's just a bit too much. I get it, you know, that real horror torture porn type stuff. I get there's a market for that, but it's just not for me. But after watching this, I have to say, from all the movies I've seen of Eli Roth, I think this is definitely his best. It's his most commercial as well, I think. And we have a really very well, competently made slasher film that I suspect is likely to turn into a franchise here. I mean, you've got horror films at Christmas, you've got horror films pretty much for every holiday season, but you don't have an awful lot for Thanksgiving in regards to horror films. In fact, I can't really think of any. I'm sure there is, but there's nothing really springing to mind. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any. And I think this is just a very well-made movie, and it's got a real healthy dose of satire and dark humour with it. So it doesn't necessarily feel like it's taking itself too seriously. There's a lot of throwbacks to the original trailer, back in the day in 2007. So it really does feel like a full fleshed out version of that trailer, which is very, very good indeed. It's highly polished. It's very, very well made, obviously, by Eli Roth, who is now an industry veteran, and it's very well performed by everybody involved. And what I think the film does really, really very well indeed is it gives you a lot of suspects. You know, a lot of the times, to the point where this film feels like a whodunit as well. Now, these mass killers, most of the movies, like the screams and everything else, you can't wait for the reveal to find out who the killer is. And this is no different. In fact, you probably more hotly anticipating the reveal in this film than many others, because the film gives you a lot of red herrings as to who the killer could be, and any of them are perfectly plausible. Was the reveal of the killer a surprise to me? I have to be honest and say no, I did guess, but I have to say it was only a guess, because it could easily have been anybody else. I kind of made my guess fairly early on and stuck with it. And there was 2 or 3 times in the film where I was very, very tempted to change my thought of who the killer was. And that's how good a job that this film does in regards to giving you suspects. What it also does a really good job of is giving you victims that you absolutely enjoy watching them get the comeuppance, because right at the beginning, like I say, this Black Friday sale, I'm one of these, and I'm sure many of you watching this are very similar to me. I could think of nothing worse than standing in a frenzied crowd waiting for a shop to open just to buy some stock that they can't sell anyway, so they're going to sell cheap. Because that's essentially what Black Friday sales are. It's just them getting rid of stock that they don't want anymore, and they're going to slash the price just to get rid of it. So to see everybody getting in this frenzied state at the beginning for this Black Friday sale, and see some of these awful people, you know, the way they behave outside and in the store, trying to get the bargain that they want, to see them getting their comeuppance in the film is actually really quite satisfying. And it does a really, really good job of giving the audience what it wants, but it also does a really good job of giving you a number of characters that you don't want to see this happen to. And you kind of feel like they're being unfairly connected to it in some ways, or the film does a far better job of humanizing them for us. But I really had a good time, you know, watching a lot of the victims get the comeuppance, and getting behind some of the characters that I felt a little bit more connected to. And then we come on to the killings themselves, and Eli Roth does not disappoint here. The level of brutality on display here is wincing-juicing for sure. Lots of blood, lots of gore. So I was very, very happy with that, because, again, a lot of these slasher films, when it actually comes to the crunch of the kills, they kind of take the foot off the gas. This doesn't take its foot off the gas. In fact, it puts the foot on the gas when it comes to the killings. They're very satisfying and they're very gory, and, you know, to a large degree, they're a lot of fun to watch if you like that sort of thing in these movies. I had a good time with it, in the sense of, you know, the killings and everything like that. And it was nicely paced as well. You know, once the killing started, you know, it kind of doesn't ever really let up for long. So it kept your attention and kept you engrossed in the film. There are some plot holes here and there. You're going to watch the film and you'll be kind of like, how did that person get here? I don't really understand that. There's another few bits of pieces. You're looking at that and you're thinking, hang on a minute. For example, there's the CCTV footage at the store at the beginning of the films mysteriously goes missing. But then all of a sudden, you know, it's discovered that the original footage is kept on a drive at, you know, the owner's house. Hang on a minute. Would they have not have erased that too? Or even if they didn't realise they had it, surely somebody within the police would have realised they had it and got a warrant for that sort of stuff. So, yeah, there's some silly plot holes here and there, but because the film's so watchable and entertaining for the most part, you forgive a lot of the plot holes. Movies like this aren't necessarily supposed to be grounded and realistic in most aspects. And I think what Eli Roth has delivered here is another franchise. And that says a lot, because, I mean, I'm from the UK. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving, obviously. So I'm not sure how this is going to track over here, but I think the quality of the film and the entertainment value of the film will probably, hopefully, let this film do well enough to potentially get sequels. I'd be very, very surprised if we don't get sequels here. And the film very strongly hints at that as well. So, yeah, if you like these sort of films, I think you're going to be very, very happy with it. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I was expecting this film to flop hard. or just not to do very well. I don't know why. It just didn't sound that interesting to me. And like I say, I'm not a massive fan of Eli Roth, but I have to say I have been pleasantly surprised by this one, and I had a pretty good time watching it as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please click the like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.